going on, everyone? Living to learn. Thank you for tuning into my channel. Those of you that, if this happens to be your first time watching one of my videos, I just want to welcome you onto my channel. Do appreciate you taking time to watch. Those of you that have been supporting me, that continue to support me with your views, with your subscription, with your comments, shares, and especially those of you that have donated financially, which has been very helpful, by the way. I just want to say thank you. I always want to start these off with a little bit of gratitude because, you know, if I was just making these videos and nobody was watching them, I'd just be making them for myself, right? And so anyway, I appreciate that. You know, there are those of you out there that are, you know, gaining something from this content that I put out. And it's something I enjoy doing. And so I just appreciate the opportunity. And really today, I just want to talk about something I've been dealing with lately and looking for different ways to overcome, which is discouragement, right? And if you are, you know, if you've been alive for some amount, you know, any amount of time, you understand what discouragement is about. It's when you are feeling like, you know, you're not doing too well, no matter, you know, regardless of what that is. It could be for the moment. It could be just over a long period of time. And you start to feel like, you know, maybe things are going to stay this way. You know, maybe I'm going to continue to go, continue to go downhill, you know, continue to go in a, you know, move in a direction that I don't want to move in. And for a number of reasons, right? So our mind starts to tell us a lot of different things. We start to think about, you know, why I'm not doing well, or, you know, why am I not being successful? Why am I not, getting the results that I want? And so to overcome this requires a lot of awareness. Okay, so the first thing we have to do, we have to be aware that when we become discouraged, it's not the end all be all, right? And we have to decide that. We have to determine that in our minds, that this isn't, you know, how things are going to be, and this isn't how they have to be always. You know, that's the way life is. We're not always going to get the results that we want. We can prepare and prepare. We can try. And, you know, sometimes it doesn't, you know, we don't get the end result. You know, sometimes I go out, right? I'm in sales and, you know, I might have 3 appointments in one day. And each of those appointments might be, you know, far from each other. You know, I might go out that day and I might drive, you know, 100, 200 miles round trip, 3 appointments. And I might not sell any of them, you know. And let me tell you, when you are out all day and you got 3 appointments and you don't sell any of them, it's that discouragement creeps in, right? I call it the devil of I call it the devil of discouragement, right? And that's what it is. It's a devil. It's an ugly thing, because what it does is it starts to creep into your mind, right? And you start to question, you start to second guess. And this is a really bad place to be in, especially, you know, if you're in sales. Right? Because once you start to get discouraged, once you start to doubt, and once you rest in that doubt, you rest in that discouragement, you know, you begin to talk, you begin that self-talk, and it's always negative, right? It's always, you know, I suck, I'm not good at this, you know, how can I get better, you know? But you just sold the other day, right? Like it's kind of ridiculous the way it works, but that's just kind of how we're wired. You know, something happens and it's just like, all of a sudden it's all about that one thing that happened. Forget the past success, right? We're just right now we're focused in on the failure, right? And that's the thing about discouragement. You know, once it takes hold of your mind, it starts to drive you all kinds of different places, right? It starts to lead your thoughts in all sorts of different directions, and none of them are good. And so what I've been doing lately, and what I want to share with you in this video, is just some of the things that I've taken upon myself to resist that discouragement. Okay. So number one, I listen to, when I'm out on the road, I listen to a lot of, different motivational speakers. And what I'm trying to do is I'm just trying to flood my mind with these positive messages, right? These positive reminders. And a lot of times what that does is it just reinforces the fact that, that I need to be prepared for things not to go my way, right? I mean, when things are going your way, not much to think about, right? There's not much to fight off there. We're having a good time. And when you're hitting your stride, when things are going well, when you're feeling like, oh, I got this, it's not, you're not having to put forth too much effort to, keep yourself positive, because you're getting the results that you want. So you're automatically feeling good. But it's when you don't get the results that you want. It's when you plan and you strategize and you come up short. That's when you have to be prepared, right? So recently what I've been doing is I've been trying to just flood my mind with these positive messages, with these motivational, messages. And again, there's a ton of stuff on YouTube. It's all out there for us. I like Eric Thomas. I like, David Goggins. Everybody has their own. Les Brown, like old school Jim Rohn. Like everybody has their different styles, right? And I'll even listen to sermons, right? I'll listen to sermons from people that I know, folks that I'm friends with. Just, great encouraging messages. Just anything that's going to lift my spirits, right? Something that's going to put me in a positive state of mind. Okay. Because I'm already going to have, what I'm doing is I'm preparing myself, right? I'm trying to arm myself with weapons to combat that discouragement. Because when it happens, it's just like a wave, right? It's a flood. It just starts to hit you. Your mind, all of a sudden, those thoughts are starting to creep in, and it's subtle, but then it's not, because it's just like it all of a sudden it's overwhelming. Like, whoa, wait a minute, didn't get the results I wanted. Here comes the discouragement, and we have to be prepared for that, and that's something that I've been working on, really just trying to get better at. Because if I stay in a place of discouragement, that's going to affect everything I do. That's going to spill over into everything, right? You begin to give up. You begin to get down on yourself. You begin to forget past successes. And I think that's probably sometimes the worst, especially in sales, because it's like, okay, you didn't sell anything today, but guess what? You've sold before. You've done this before. You've had success at this. You'll have success again. Right. And this is some of the self-talk. This is some of the conversations I have to have with myself, because I have to resist that discouragement. There's no way I can let it stay too long in my mind. There's no way that I can just stay focused on that, because once I start to give in, it's almost like we become hypnotized with that discouragement. We start to get led down a path that we don't want to go. And the problem with that is it makes the further down that path we go, the longer we have to walk back to get to a place of, well, okay, wait a minute. Now I'm actually going to be okay. Like, I'm going to be good. The other thing that I try to do is just, when I'm thinking about my day, I just, I go ahead and I point out I guess you could say you point out the elephant in the room. Like, okay, this could happen, right? Like, what am I going to do if it doesn't go my way today? What am I going to do? Of course, I expect a sale. I expect to do well. I expect to be successful. Okay. And also a lot of that has to do with preparation. See, I can't just come out there and say, oh, well, I expect to do well, I expect to sell, but I haven't prepared or I haven't practiced. Right. So those are some other things to think about, before we start getting discouraged, before we start allowing ourselves to get led down that path, we have to ask ourselves, well, wait a minute, where in this whole ordeal, where was there a place where I didn't take responsibility? Was there a place where I had something that I should have done to prepare and I didn't do it? Was there something that I needed to go over? Was there, was there a lack of preparation involved? Like all these things, what they do is they put it right back on us, right? And not to beat ourselves up more, but just to, to identify like, hey, was there something lacking? Was there something I could have done better? Because then what that does is it doesn't make you feel worse, or it shouldn't, but it should encourage you, right? To make sure that you're doing everything you can to set yourself up for success. And not to say that just because you're fully prepared, you're going to succeed every time. But at least you can know like, hey, you know what? I did everything I could. It's like when I'm trying to sell, when I'm trying to do something, I don't want to leave that place until I know I've done everything I could. Right. And what that does is it helps me resist that discouragement. It helps me resist that devil called discouragement. I can say, you know what? I don't need to be discouraged. I did everything I could. And I just, sometimes people just, they can't buy. Sometimes they can't afford it. I mean, yeah, I guess I'm one of those people that believes anyone can be sold or any deal can be closed. But, sometimes it's just not going to happen no matter what we do. But what's helpful is when I know I've done everything I could. Right now, sure, I still don't get the results I wanted. But you know what? That gives me something to look back on, right? And then that's the other thing. We have to have something to look back and say, you know what? Pat ourselves on the back a little bit. Like, you know what? I'm proud of myself. I'm proud that I went in there and I overcame, whatever objections, whatever excuses the customer tried to give me. I'm glad I was able to do that. I'm glad I was able to point out the benefits. I'm glad I was able to get them to understand why this product was going to solve their problem. At the end of the day, I don't know what their bank account looks like. At the end of the day, I don't know their circumstances, their priorities. But I know that I came in and I did my job. Right. And it just kind of gives me like kind of a counterbalance to the discouragement that's coming. Because it's coming. Right. It's waiting for me. It's waiting for us. Right. When we don't do well, when things aren't going the right way, it's right there. And that discouragement gets in our minds, tells us all kinds of lies, tells us all kinds of things that just aren't true. As if it's not human to make mistakes. There's no such thing as getting everything right. Nobody gets everything perfectly right. No one wins all the time. I know we live in a social media age where it looks like people are just, nothing's wrong. Everything's well in their life. And I hope it is. It's not that I hope it's not. I just know that that's not the truth. Life is life. It comes with, hard situations. It comes with, being let down. It comes with trying and failing. And that's why a lot of us are afraid to try. We're afraid to try because we're terrified of that failure. We're terrified of what comes with that discouragement. We don't want that. We don't want that feeling. We don't want to have to deal with that. But if you're going to try to get better at anything, if you're going to try to grow, if you're going to try to, achieve goals, if you're going to have things, if you're going to chase your dreams, which is what I'm doing, right? I know where I want to go and I'm headed that way. But if you're going to make that decision, you're going to head down that road. You better be ready for discouragement. You better be ready for that devil of discouragement that's just going to try to mess with your mind every single chance that it gets. It's just the way that we're designed. So we have to be prepared. So I try to prepare myself. When I go out there, I'm preparing myself. I'm telling myself, you're good at this. You're going to do well. You're going to be great. Expect to do this, expect to do that. Expect success, expect a sale, expect closing deals, expect to be a top performer. Those are the things that I talk to myself about. you know, and it goes back to, other areas in life. Expect to be a great father, expect to be a great husband, but prepare, right? Prepare. Do what are you doing about it? It's not just this talk, right? We're not just, making things up. There's no formula. There's a formula, but there's no there's no, it's not a magic trick, right? It's not like something, we just comes out of nowhere. Like there's preparation, there's things that I have to do, right? I can't just say I expect to be successful and I'm not preparing for that. Like there's things that I got to do, right? There's things we have to do. There's things that we're responsible for. All right. But one of the things that we are responsible for is making sure that we don't give into that discouragement to the point where we're not doing anything, the point where we no longer want to try, because it can drag us down if we allow it to. So we have to equip ourselves. So these are the things that I'm trying to do. These are the things that I am applying right now to my life to resist that discouragement, to ensure that it doesn't just take hold of me and take me where it wants to take me. Because I'm saying, no, that's not true. It's not true. Doesn't matter if I didn't sell anything today. I'm coming right back tomorrow. Right? I'm going right back out there tomorrow. Always looking at what can I do better. Right? One of the best pieces of advice I got when I started selling for this company in particular was, hey, have a journal, right? After every appointment. What did you do well? What could you do better? Right? And that's another way to resist that discouragement. Putting your mind, again, I've talked about this before in other videos, putting our mind, giving our mind another task, right? Pointing it in a different direction. I don't have time to waste on feeling discouraged. I need to work on strategy. I need to work on adjustments, right? I need to be able to clap and say, hey, good job for what you did well. And then I need to look at what I didn't do so well and say, hey, that's all right. We know what we need to work on. Now let's work on it. Right? So that gives me no time. That gives me no energy for feeling discouraged, which leads to, can lead to self-pity and all this woe is me and which does us no good. There's too much life to be lived. There's too many things to be accomplished. And so that's my video for today. I hope it's helpful. And I hope you're encouraged. And I just want to remind you that you have everything you need to be successful. And the only thing we're fighting against is ourselves, our minds. And all this scripting, whatever. A lot of things go back to how we were raised and what we heard and what we told ourselves even at a young age, and so many things floating around our subconscious mind. And I just want to remind you that, we have everything we need to be successful. And as long as we don't quit, we can get there. Right? And so be encouraged, keep your head up, have a great week. And again, thanks for watching.